Welcome to the Sons of Mjolnir podcast.
The Sons of... what?
This isn't your Sons of Macaroni, yeah!
The Sons of Mjolnir?
This is Sons of Mjolnir, yeah!
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Sons of Mjolnir. As always, I am one of your hosts, Fat Thor.
I'm Cap.
And today we are coming together to talk all about the new Captain America run. We're going to be talking about, there's actually two Captain America runs going on right now. Sentinel of Liberty by Jackson Lanzing and Kelly. And then we're also going to be talking about Symbol of Truth. And that is going to be written by Tochi. I am already going to apologize because I know I'm going to butcher the last name. Onobuchi. I hope that's right, but we're going to be calling him Tochi for the sake of this episode. But he is going to be writing, like I said, Symbol of Truth, which features Sam Wilson as Captain America. And we just wanted to come and like nerd out about these runs because we are both loving them. They are now starting to converge in a new event called Captain America Cold War. And we just got the first 2 issues of that. So yeah, like I said, we are loving both of these issues. We have the Cap expert here in house. So we wanted to come and just nerd out all about this run because like I said, we're absolutely loving it.
Loving it is I feel like that's a big understatement, but
yeah, I mean,
definitely loving
like
it.
I said before, you're the Cap expert here, and you've read more Captain America than definitely any of us, and probably more than most of anybody out there listening or watching this. So, just before we get into the nitty gritty and everything, how are you liking this run compared to other Cap runs you loved? Obviously, Burbaker is the standard, the bar to hit, and it's impossible to ask to get to that level. But despite that, how do you like in Sentinel of Liberty?
I'm lost for words each time I go to describe it. It's such a good run. Like it's probably the best run I've read on Captain America since Brubaker, and it's not far off it, to be honest.
Oh, that's high praise.
The conspiracy aspect of Sentinel as well, like it's so close to Brubaker's spy thriller espionage feel as well.
Mm-hmm.
The tones they're not too different. They're pretty similar, but at the same time, there's something setting them apart. But man, both are phenomenal. I'm really enjoying this one.
Yeah, like you said, I can't really say it any better themselves. It's almost like a loss for words. It's so good. And like you said, you've read way more Captain America than I have. I've read, stuff here and there. I've read, Brubaker, but I don't know. This one just feels kind of different. Like I mainly started it obviously because of our friendship. And, I knew we were going to want to be talking about it on the podcast. So I immediately added it to my polls. Once I found out it was written by Jackson and Kelly, that was also an immediate put on my polls. And yeah, like I said, it feels different. It feels fresh. And with a character like Captain America, I feel like he sometimes, at least for me, can fall into the kind of trope of kind of like Superman. You know what I mean? Like how, not saying that I don't agree, like Superman is a boring character, and I'm not trying to say Captain America is a boring character either. But
Choose your next words wisely.
Yeah, exactly. Cap's looking at me with some laser eyes here. But no, I just mean in the sense of like, people hold Superman to like this standard, and like, he's the good boy, the good Boy Scout kind of character, and Cap is very similar, and they've both been around for so long. I just feel like Cap is a hard character to come with something new and fresh. You know what I mean? Because he's been everywhere. I mean, he's Captain America. He's been with the Avengers, World War II, the Invaders, Civil War, like, so many things. So I feel like, again, it's hard for a character like Captain America to feel new and fresh. Am I completely off base with that?
No, I'd agree 100%. It's like you have so much rich history there with Captain America. Like you have you have all the world. Where do you really go next? Like you have
Mhm,
World War II stuff that's already been done. You even have Nazi Captain America. You have alternate Captain America. You have spy and espionage Captain America. There's not much more you can do. So for
mhm.
a new team to come in and make it feel fresh and new, it speaks volumes about how good the writing is too.
Yeah, I mean that's an achievement in itself, I think. Like just to come up with, like I said, a new like something like you said to keep the Steve and Captain America, new and fresh and exciting. Like I said, I think that's an achievement all on its own. But speaking of, reinventing, not reinventing Cap, but kind of bringing new life to Cap, let's talk about Jackson and Kelly, the hive mind of comics. I've been calling them the new dream team of comics because they are just so good together. Their writing is just like phenomenal. We've been praising their work for a while. It, people who have been listening and watching us for a little bit will remember we all loved their Kang mini. We nerded out about that on one of our previous episodes. I can't remember which one, but that was absolutely phenomenal. The Captain America run has been absolutely phenomenal. They just started a new Guardians run where it's like, the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's like a Western kind of feel. And it's only one issue in so far. So I'm not going to say, it's the best thing I've ever read. But the first issue was super good. I definitely grabbed my attention. I can't wait for it to go forward. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they're just so good. What are your thoughts on, Jackson and Kelly, the hive mind of comics?
I really like them. Um, See, whenever the first thing I read of theirs was that Kang mini,
Hmm.
and honestly, hadn't heard of them, so it was new writers, new book for me, and it blew me away. I was
Hmm.
like, "Hot damn, this is good!"
Yeah. Yeah, see, for
And
me, it
then they
was like
brought
a
out,
hindsight thing. I didn't even realize that they wrote, I mean, I knew that they wrote Kang, but when I started Sentinel, I didn't even realize that till like kind of after the fact. I'm like, oh shit, they did Kang too. I loved that. You know what I mean?
yeah, and then mine that they brought out that one shot Timeless.
Hmm.
That was pretty fucking good too. And I was like, "No, it's definitely not a one off. They're not a one book wonder."
Hmm.
And then I heard they were getting Captain America, and I was like, I'm a little excited here.
Yeah.
And now look at us, I'm falling head over heels for them.
Yeah, like you said, I can't say enough good things about him. It really, I don't want to say they're like on the rise because they've been putting in work for a good long while now, but man, they are just on fire lately. And they've become writers that I'm like forever now will like if they're coming out with a book, I'm adding it to my pull list. Like they have
Yeah,
my
yep.
total trust. And I think with both Kang and Captain America, and it seems like with Guardians, I feel like they're really good at taking all of the history of these characters, like Kang, for example. Like in that Kang mini, we really kind of got an entire history of Kang, but told like kind of through a new lens and with added lore to kind of connect with everything that we already previously knew about Kang. And I think that they're kind of doing something very similar in this Captain America book where, like we just talked about, they're bringing us something very new and very fresh, but at the same time, it still ties all back with the lore of Captain America. And, we're bringing like the invaders and the destroyer, I mean, obviously Peggy Carter. Like, there's a lot of things that they're touching on, like I said, that is new and different, but it's still rooted in the Cap lore. And like they're not just making things up, about Cap. Like this all, and again, you're the expert, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but like it feels like again, while it's new, it's uncovering things about the past we never knew. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, 100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, because there's like they're what they're how do you even explain it? Like the new stuff they're bringing is so like entwined with history. that it doesn't feel overly new, but at the same time, no one knows it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy how they're bringing stuff like new stuff to Cap's history. It's
Yeah. It's like they're
the
bringing
writing is so good, man.
yeah, they're bringing new stuff from old stuff. You know what I mean? Like I don't know,
Yeah,
you can just tell that these dudes get it. You know what I mean? Like not only do they get it, but they've done their homework. Like that's how I feel, both with Kang, Captain America, like if like I said, it feels like they're in both titles trying to do something new and different with the character, but all the things about it are still there. You know what I mean? Like again, it's great writing. It's just proof of great writing.
yeah, you can tell they're really fans of the characters they write too. Like
Yeah.
there's so much love poured into it.
And not only that, but every interview I see of both of them, like they just seem like the coolest guys ever. And like
Yeah, yeah.
Jackson, especially, like he is so hyped every time I hear him talk about like Captain America or Kang or whatever they're working on. And
Even Star Trek.
yeah, Star Trek too. That's something else I forgot to mention. I know nothing about Star Trek, like
Neither do
absolutely,
I.
absolutely zero about Star Trek. But I did pick up their Star Trek for free comic book day, so I am excited. Again, like I said, they have my loyalty now. If I see them writing it, I'm gonna pick it up. So I don't know anything about Star Trek, but I picked up that damn book because like I said, I know that they're good writers, and if anyone can get me on the Trekkie train, it's probably them.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Hell
Yeah,
yes.
I'm very similar myself. Like I know absolutely nothing about Star Trek, never watched it, never read anything, no interest at all. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I might have to check this out here.
Say if it's like I said, if it's Jackson and Kelly, then I'm in. Easy man. If I see their names, I'm buying it.
Fair. It's it's hard to argue that.
Yep. But we could sing their praises all day long if, for out of the blue moon chance that they might be, hear this, listen to this. We love you guys. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. We absolutely love it. But let's really get into it though. We're talking about how great their writing is. So let's talk about that writing and let's kind of really get into Sentinel of Liberty. So we talked about how, they're really great at bringing new stuff from old stuff. And I kind of want to talk about before we get into kind of the conspiracy stuff and, we're not going to talk full spoilers because we do want everyone out there to be able to read it and still be surprised, but obviously some spoilers are going to come up just naturally in discussion. But I want to start talking about Steve. I think, you know, Steve is a character like we just talked about. I feel like can sometimes fall into uh that kind of category of like, oh, the good old boy, the Boy Scout, and whatnot. And I really love their depiction of Steve in this book. And what I mean by that is like when I'm reading, like I want to talk about specifically the first issue, I think exemplifies what I'm talking about really, really well. And in the first issue, we have Steve coming back to Manhattan, to his childhood home. And we see him, hanging out with his neighbors. And like he teaches this kid, like one of his neighbor kids, like how to throw a punch or something because he's getting bullied at school. And there's like this great monologue from him. I can't remember exactly what he says, but it's like he's taking a jog through the neighborhood and he talks about how he always runs with the shield facing the people. And he says it's because like the shield's not his, like the shield belongs to the people, like the symbol of Captain America. It's not Steve Rogers, it's everybody's. And like
Yeah,
just from those first couple pages, again, like I was saying, like these dudes get it. And like to me, when I'm reading this run and like again specifically like Steve's inner monologue panels and stuff like that, it just like again just feels like Steve Rogers to me, and it just feels like they really hit it on the head with, at least in my mind, like who Steve is, like what he stands for. So I want to get your perspective on that again because you have read more Steve Rogers and Captain America than pretty much anybody. So what do you think about their depiction of Steve?
I really like it. One of the things I like most about it is they've brought back the human aspect of Steve. Like
Mhm.
he's not wrote as just Captain America, super soldier. He's a human again. So you get that emotion, you get that relatability, you get all the stuff that makes Steve relatable in there.
Mhm.
And it's hard to find in like other like past runs because a lot of people just write him generic super soldier,
Mhm.
nothing phases him. But at the same time, they're missing that human aspect, which is something that the two guys have brought perfectly into this run.
Mhm.
I really, really like that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you just described kind of what I was trying to say even better than I could say it. But like you said, it's the human aspect of Steve, and like when I was making that Captain America Superman comparison, I think that's like I said, that's kind of what I meant. Is like you just said, I feel like sometimes a lot of writers just write Steve as this kind of generic super soldier, leader, and we love that about Steve also, but like you said, I think what really is appealing of Steve Rogers and what Jackson and Kelly are able to really hit so well is, like you said, that human element of Steve. Like, again,
Yeah,
like him helping his neighbor and him, moving back home to Manhattan and, taking a jog around the neighborhood, or like his radio group that he has in the first couple
yes,
issues. Like, I loved that. I thought that was awesome. Like, again, to me, that's Steve Rogers. Like you said, the human Steve Rogers, not just Captain America.
yeah. Like, how are you supposed to relate to a super soldier who can lift cars and stuff? It's
Yeah.
you need something there that you can relate to.
Hmm.
So these guys have brought it in really well.
In this run, like we talked about, so it kind of starts off. Steve moves back home to Lower Manhattan, where he grew up. In the MCU, the little change. MCU, Cap is from Brooklyn, but in the comics, he's always been from Manhattan. Correct, Cap?
Yeah, yep, yep.
So he comes back home to kind of, do his do it, not Captain America, his Steve Rogers thing. And he's just trying to, hang out, be Steve Rogers. He's like we talked about, he's got his little radio group going. All of this is uplifted when a new threat comes into play called the Outer Circle. And we learn through the events of this series, and we are kind of still learning as we go on, is that Captain America's shield and the symbol, like the circles and the star, it doesn't actually stand for America, or like everyone thinks. And we learn again that it's something that's still unfolding, that the symbol of Captain America comes from these people that call themselves the Outer Circle. And basically they're like a covert cabal kind of group that has been influencing world events since, I don't even know. I know it's not like the beginning of time, but for a long, long time, like we're talking very powerful, like the most powerful people on the planet, and they have all been playing this game that they call the Sentry game. And for centuries, I guess, as the name implies, they have been making moves. Each person is like has a different name. Like there's the Revolutionary, there's Power, Love, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure exactly the other ones, but basically, they're like I said, they're all playing this Century game, and each one makes moves that determine the outcome of the world. So Cap is, as we go through the series, Cap starts uncovering this, and basically the adventure that we follow him on is uncovering what does all this mean? What does the symbol mean? Like what parts of both, not only Captain America, but everyone around Captain America, Bucky Barnes, Peggy Carter, how have they all been influenced and kind of been pawns of this game that they didn't know existed? So that's kind of where we pick up. That's kind of where we're at and what we're uncovering. So I want to get into kind of what is the outer circle. So like I said, they're like a cabal of people, but Cap, can you give us a little bit more on like who these people are?
It's like what it started in the 19th. I think it was the 19th century. Um, it was five people, wasn't it? There's revolution, love, wealth, power. I can't remember the last one, but they all came together to like shape the world. So they try and create this. They try to shape the world with this game, and they have the 5 star points, which is a star on Cap's shield. They have who's the 5 star points? There's Bucky, Peggy, the Destroyer, Redacted, and who was the fifth one? Is Cap the fifth one? I can't remember who the fifth one is. Maybe Cap's the fifth one.
So like you said, Bucky is a star point. So that
Yeah.
means, so basically what that means is that for Bucky's basically entire life, he has been a pawn in this game, executing orders from the outer circle that we never knew. So like back, when he was the Winter Soldier, he was unbeknowingly taking orders from Hydra and doing Hydra's dirty work. So basically similar situation, just on a bigger scale, right?
Yeah. Even before that, Bucky was planted in Captain America's, like, I don't want to say care because it wasn't his care, but like he was put into his group
Mm-hmm.
as part of their plan. So he was planted there from the very beginning, even before Winter Soldier came about.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously he had blew up and the KGB got him. And then that's whenever Winter Soldier came about.
Mm-hmm.
So even from like day dot, I'm pretty sure his father, the reason his dad died was to get Bucky into the army to be Captain America's
Sidekick. So that kind of leads us perfectly in. So Bucky. So we got to talk about Bucky. We just talked about how, Steve is written in this book. But let's talk a little bit about Bucky. So, like we said, again, I don't want to spoil too much for anybody because it's so good. You all need to go read it for yourselves. But without spoiling too much, this whole cabal is kind of starting to be uncovered, this outer circle, and Cap and Bucky, are going, go to investigate. And Bucky starts working with the outer circle and he becomes the new revolutionary, a player in this game. And so he is trying to basically take down the outer circle from within. And that has started to put him and Steve at odds. And now, where we're at in the book now, it's kind of almost like Bucky is kind of the main villain of the book now. Like, obviously, it's the
Yeah.
outer circle and they're the ones, pulling the strings of everything. But Bucky has started to take it upon himself to, like I said, try and take down this cabal, which is putting him, head to head with Steve in many, many areas. So I want to talk a little bit about Bucky and how do you think his portrayal in this book is? Because I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what you think to start off with.
Um, it's it's kind of weird because like the first few issues before we met Revolution, I really liked how they wrote Bucky. I still like how they write Bucky. I just don't like the direction they've taken him.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like it's too early to give it that judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's basically just got his foot in the door with Outer Circle. Is he really playing their game against them, or is he just too deep in where he's giving in now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's found out some big, heavy secrets about his past. Maybe it's time he's just given.
Yeah, it's almost like in my mind, it's like the question of, is he still trying to take down the outer circle for for the greater good, or is he trying to take down the outer circle for himself? You get what I mean? And
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like we're starting to get to the point where that line is becoming a lot more harder to see. And I think that we're seeing Bucky not necessarily like wanting to take the power for himself, but he wants to be the one in control now. His whole life, I mean, with the Winter Soldier, someone has always been in control of his decisions and what he is doing. And even when he thought he was free of that, we now learn the outer circle has been orchestrating everything. So I
yeah.
can see the sense of, like I said, he wants to take it down for himself and now be the one making decisions. Everyone's made decisions for him before. Now he wants to be the one making those decisions.
Yeah, because like he always has been quite an emotionally led character. Like
Hmm.
I know he's tactically sound and he plans a lot, but at the same time, his emotions lead a lot. So
Hmm.
like for self gratification, like he could want to take them down for that,
Hmm.
rather
Definitely.
than the greater good, as you say.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and like you're saying, I really like how they're writing Bucky, and I like I said, the whole thing I just kind of talked about with, Bucky's a character that has always been a pawn of someone else. And like that's like the one thing in my mind, again, you're the expert, so you've read more than me. But in my mind, that's kind of Bucky's like ultimate uh goal, or like the thing that always is haunting him is, like I said, he is always a pawn of someone else, like kind of that classic Greek myth of like the guy pushing the boulder up the hill but he'll never reach the top of the hill. It's like
Yes.
Bucky is constantly trying to be the good guy and like put his past away, but the people controlling, all of that just won't let him. And now, first it was Hydra, and now we have this outer circle. So I really like how they're playing into that kind of aspect of him, of like you said, trying to reclaim his identity and be his own person. Like I think that's very central to Bucky's character. But like I said, the one thing, at least for right now, that's kind of that I'm not sure if I'm really loving is it seems like he's becoming straight villainous in the at least in these last couple issues. But I think you bring up a good point too, and I think it's too early to like make a decision of like, yeah, I don't like how they turned Bucky into a villain, because he's not, like, I wouldn't even say we're at that point yet. It just seems like that's where we're headed. But I feel like it's just like everything in this run has been so far. We're gonna learn more as we go on, and it's all gonna make sense. We're gonna be like, wow, that's why he did that, and like that's why he did that. Like I think they're gonna bring it back around in a way that all of these things that he's doing is gonna make a lot more sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's one of the things those guys are good at too is the twists. So like where
Mm-hmm.
we think it's leading to could twist off to something completely different. Like
Yeah.
we could see Bucky turning full on villain, and just as we expected, they could turn him into Captain America again. Like
Yeah.
you never know where these guys are planning to take it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the love they have for Bucky as well wouldn't allow them to make him a villain again.
Mm-hmm. That's
You
what
know
I
what I mean?
mean, and that's kind of why I'm apprehensive about it, because again, you've read more Bucky than me, but to me it's like Bucky deserves some, I don't want to say peace, because then we wouldn't have any stories. Like, something has to go wrong for the man, because I want more stories with him. But it's like I feel like at this point Bucky deserves to be a hero and, like, not be a bad guy anymore. And he's always, like we just talked about, always getting thrown back into the throw of, Hydra or Winter Soldier or this, that, the other. Like I want my man to be happy. You know what I mean? I want him to be next
Yeah.
to next to Steve fighting evil. That's what I want for him.
Yeah. Before we move on, I'm just going to correct you. Um,
Please.
it it wasn't Hydra that Bucky was working for. It was the Russians. It was the KGB whenever he was Winter Soldier. It was
Oh,
Hydra in the MCU. That
okay.
was a little change the MCU done.
See, this is why we need you, man. This is why we need you. Yeah, okay. So KGB, not Screw
KGB.
Hydra.
Yes, screw
Yeah.
Hydra.
But I mean, I'm sure they had their hands on him at some point in the comics. Come on now.
Yeah, well, um, coming off the back of Winter Soldier, whenever um Bucky killed Alexander, or not Alexander Looking, whenever he killed Red Skull for the KGB to take the Cosmic Cube, and then Red Skull came back, he like merged with
Mhm.
Looking. I guess you could say Hydra had a hand in it there, because at the end of the day, it was still Red Skull and Looking, so it was both of them, you
Mhm.
know.
Damn Hydra, dude. They're always when you cut off one head,
I was
two
about to
more
say
grows in
it.
its place. So I want to talk a little bit. We were talking about these star points and like how, Bucky is a star point and like what that means. I also want to talk about Peggy. I have
Yes.
questions about Peggy, and this is where your cat brain is going to have to come in. So Peggy is also one of these star points, which, like you said, means that she's basically unbeknowingly an agent of this outer circle. Now,
Mm.
my knowledge of Peggy is very limited. And I know of her. I've read a couple things. Obviously, she's been in a lot of Cap stuff, which is where most of my knowledge comes from. And then obviously we have Peggy Carter in the MCU. But so you're gonna have to help me out a little bit here. So what I'm confused about, and basically my question is, so like what I know of Peggy is like the basics, like her and Steve had romance and were together, whatnot. During his initial run as Cap, he goes into the ice, so far and so forth. So in this run, we pick up one, she's still like young. So like in my mind, she should be like 100 something years old. So like what are the differences of Peggy in the comics versus, like you said, the Peggy that we know in the MCU, and like how does she come into play here with being a star point?
Essentially, Peggy was just like she was a love interest in World War Two, nothing more. After Steve went into the ice, that was the end of it. There was no, it wasn't how it was in the MCU. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve came back from the ice, met Sharon, and that's the one he fell in love with. Um, but it was it Coates? Was it Coates' run? He had brought her back using the Cosmic Cube. So remember Kobik, the sentient version of the Cosmic Cube?
Mm-hmm.
Well, whenever she changed Steve's history to be a Hydra agent, they changed it back unwillingly or unknowingly, brought Peggy into the future again, and that's whenever she brought forward the daughters, the Daughters of Liberty.
Okay.
So that's how she's still young,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what maybe it's only a couple of years after that. Aye, it's maybe five years at most after that happened. So she's still relatively young. She's still in her prime. She's still
Mm-hmm.
prime day Peggy.
Yeah.
Um, but that does raise a big question as to how she has a role to play in the outer circle being a star point. Because if it wasn't for Kobik, Peggy would have died way back in God knows, maybe the 70s. She could have
Mm-hmm.
died in World War Two. But if she wasn't brought back, she'd still be dead back then. So how did they play?
Hmm.
Could they have planned for her to be brought back? It's just questions
Maybe,
upon questions
yeah,
whenever you get to that bit.
maybe that's something that is yet to be unveiled. Maybe we stumbled
Yeah,
onto a little thread right here.
could have. Or unless she was one of the original star points in World War Two, because the Outer Circle had a hand in World War Two,
Mm-hmm.
obviously creating Steve and Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
They had a hand in World War Two, so unless she was one of the original star points, and
Maybe.
then whenever she died, got a new one, and then she came back, and they were like, "Here, hold on a minute, we'll just
Hey,
bring this one back
hang on. Look who's back. Look what the cat drug in.
again." Questions upon questions
Yeah.
whenever you get to that bit.
And that's what we love about this book is the questions, the conspiracy, the
Yes,
mystery
exactly.
unfolding.
For me, that's one of the things you want whenever you're reading something. You want to be kept on the edge. You want
Mm-hmm.
like what's going to happen next? Like, how does this happen? Or hold on a minute, that can't happen because this, but then can it happen? Like
Mm-hmm.
the constant thinking. I like that about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like again, not being the cap expert, but that's something that I really love about Captain America stories. And like I think that's the reason why, you know, the movie Captain America Winter Soldier is a lot of people's favorite, is that kind of spy thriller kind of theme. I think Cap
Yeah.
just works so well with those kind of stories. And again, Colin or Jackson and Kelly are able to kind of hit that theme so well and give us a new kind of conspiracy and mystery to unfold in the vein of the Winter Soldier, but brought into this new era of comics, like of where we find Steve today. That kind of naturally brings us into Sam Wilson's run. So, like we talked about earlier, there's currently 2 Captain America runs going on simultaneously. Sentinel of Liberty with Steve that we just talked about, but there's also Symbol of Truth, and that is going to be with Sam Wilson as Captain America. And like we talked about, that is going to be written by Tochi. Again, excuse me for the butchering of the name, Anabuchi. And so let's talk about this run a little bit. I've also been loving this run. I mean, I know we love everything here. We're not we're not hard critics, especially when it comes to, you know, our main characters. But
Yeah.
you know, I've always loved Sam Wilson Cap, and you know, now he's Captain America in the MCU, which is fantastic. But I want to talk about this run, and like we were just talking about, I feel like it's doing very similar things in the sense of using Sam's history and Cap and the history of Cap and making it new and fresh in a, you know, in a way that we haven't seen before. What I really love is, like you said, they're bringing it back old things and making them feel new. So in this run we have White Wolf is like the main kind of villain. Him and Sam have a pretty long history together, and it basically is, the run is going to be following Sam Wilson as he is taking on, not taking on because we've seen that already, but you know, living in the mantle of Captain America. And it, you know, this run takes him to Wakanda, takes him, you know, kind of all around the globe, and we see him fighting, like I said, White Wolf, and trying to stop, there's like civil war breaking out, and like I said, terrorist attack going on in Wakanda. And I think it's hitting a lot of the same veins as Sentinel of Liberty in the sense of it. I really love how they're writing Sam Wilson in this run. And like again, his inner dialogue, one moment I can think of off the top of my head, his fight with T'Challa, and I want to say maybe like issue 4 or 6. He fights him with no armor, no shield or anything, like just hand to hand. And like I said, I just really like their portrayal of Sam. I think it really hits it on the head of, you know, what Sam represents, and like how the differences of his Captain America versus Steve's. But what do you think, Cap? What are your thoughts on Sam Wilson as the character in this run and the run as a whole?
I really like I I really like the run, and I really like how Tochi, I'ma leave it there, is writing Sam.
Hmm.
It's like the last Sam run we got was Nick Spencer's, and that was fun. I'll say that.
I liked Spencer's run, man. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I liked it though.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was
Be
nothing
honest.
special, but
You gotta
nothing
be honest,
terrible as
Cap.
well.
Say you gotta
Uh,
give the people the honesty. You're the Cap guy. Say how
it's
you
it was
feel.
nothing special, but not the worst as well.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, this one I really like this one. It's completely different from Spencer's. It's got such a different feel. The way Tochi even writes Sam is completely different as well.
Hmm.
Um, the take for example the issue where they go to Latveria.
Hmm.
They're standing in front of Doom, like how Tochi has Sam speaking to Doom, not with most people whenever they're speaking to Doom, you know, they have that essence of fear in them. There was nothing there. It was commanding, and it's like respectable too. And I
Hmm.
really like that. I really like how he writes Sam.
I also I want to talk about something I'm going to need your Cap knowledge on again. So in the book, like I said, we see Sam kind of similar again to Sentinel of Liberty. It's kind of a conspiracy sort of thing that uncovers as we move along the issues. Like I said, White Wolf is kind of pulling strings from behind the scenes, and Sam, Falcon, Joaquin Torres are basically trying to uncover what is going on. But during all of this adventure, we are introduced slash reintroduced to a character that I know nothing about. I know a little bit, about him here and there, but Cab, you're gonna have to school me here. So we're introduced to Ian Rogers, aka Nomad, and he becomes a major player in this run and actually becomes kind of Sam's new sidekick. If I don't want to say sidekick, partner's a better word. I don't know why I said sidekick, partner. But so Cap, again, you're gonna have to school me here. So who is Ian Rogers? I know what I know of Ian Rogers is what I have read in Symbol of Truth. So that's very limited knowledge here. So give me the rundown. Who's Ian Rogers? How does he come into play, and what do you think the importance of bringing him back is? Because from my understanding, he has been dead or hasn't been a player in the game in a long while. So what do you think is the reasoning of them bringing him back, and like I said, the importance of that?
The reason I think they brought him back, that's that's a very good question. It's honestly, I think the reason for them bringing him back is to like, obviously, whenever the two books cross over properly and Cold War gets fully underway, I think it's more a reason to keep Steve grounded because we don't know what Steve's going to do. His best friend's essentially, in his eyes, gone to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's willing to do whatever. He's willing to shoot Steve in the shoulder to kill someone. We don't know what Steve's going to do whenever those two come face to face and realize that Bucky isn't going to back down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think them bringing Ian back is a way to keep Steve grounded, like keep that human aspect intact in Steve, so he doesn't lose himself. I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping I'm on to something there.
Yeah. So who is Ian Rogers? So from my understanding, again, what I know of him is from Symbol of Truth, and so what I got is that he is from Dimension Z. Father
Yes,
is father is Zola,
yes,
and somehow Cap rescues him from Dimension Z and becomes his new dad,
yep,
and then he takes on the mantle of Nomad.
yep.
Okay, that's what I know. So you fill in the blanks there. So, like I said, it comes from Dimension Z, and so he's Zola's kid.
Yeah. So in Rick Remender's run in 2012, his Cap run, you could say kidnapped. Cap get kidnapped and taken to Dimension Z anyway. But he finds this baby who has been artificially grown, like I artificially grown in a test tube. So Steve rescues him, keeps him, looks after him, and essentially raises him as his own.
Mhm.
So he pretty much adopts the kid, and he calls him Ian Rogers. So then Sharn comes to Dimension Z or Z, however you want to pronounce it,
I
and
like Zed.
to rescue Steve. Z, yeah, but she kills Ian.
She kills
She shoots
Ian.
him in the head. Yeah, she shoots him in the head essentially.
Is he still
Um,
a kid at this point, or is he like a young adult?
no, he's still a kid.
Oh,
Um,
she killed a kid then? Jesus.
yeah, no, it wasn't in the head. It was through the chest. One or
Still
two, I can't remember.
though.
She calls him anyway. She thinks she thinks that Ian is trying to kill her slash Steve. So she shoots him, protecting Steve. Um, and then we fast forward a few years. The last time we see Ian is in a Hail Hydra mini for Secret Wars 2015. It's like is it issue 5? I think it is. But he goes down where he takes the time elevator, I think it's called, some kind of elevator anyway, and disappears, and that's the last time we see him. until now.
Mm-hmm. So we still
So
don't
there's
know. We don't know what happened to him after that. Like, because from what I remember
no,
from Symbol of Truth, he kind of just shows up.
yeah, after Hail Hydra, after the Hail Hydra mini, whenever he goes in that elevator, nothing more has been said. He hasn't been touched on,
Mm-hmm.
but no runs, no minis, no nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all we know of him.
Yeah. So my original question of
So
like, what do you mean? What do you think it means him being back? That's a pretty big question because that's kind of
yep.
one of the mysteries that we don't know yet is what the hell happened to him? How is he back? Because again, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the beginning of the run, he's working for White Wolf, correct?
Yeah,
That's how we're introduced to him in this run, right?
yeah. So it'll be really interesting to see why and how they brought him back.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah,
Or where did they go? You know?
yeah, now that I know that, now I'm even more interested in Ian than I even was before. But that kind of leads us into a perfect segue, though, into Cold War. So that's kind of how like I said, these two runs have been going simultaneously over the past year. But now those two runs are coming together in the event called Cold War. And basically, how that happens is in Sam's run, Symbol of Truth, that we're talking about. Again, not to give too much away, but that ends with Ian Rogers going back home to Steve, and we see Ian and Steve reunite, and that is like Cap was saying, Ian kind of plays the role of bridging these two titles together. And now, like I said, we're getting into Cold War, which is the new event that's bringing both these titles together. And we see in Cold War that Bucky, like we talked about, he's working for the Outer Circle as their new revolutionary. He breaks out White Wolf from the prison that Sam just put him in after, like I said, his run. And so we have Ian, Sam Wilson, Captain Steve Rogers, and Sharon trying to stop Bucky and the White Wolf in this new Cold War mini. And like I said, that's kind of how they come together. It's only one issue in so far, so we're not very far into it. But Cap, I want to get your thoughts real quick. What do you think of the first? Let's just talk about the first issue. What do you think of the first issue of Cold War, and what are your kind of hopes of for this event?
Um, first issue it was fun. It was different. There was a lot more action than I was expecting. To be fair, I was expecting it to set a lot of stuff up,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a lot more action. Um, I really like how they kept Misty Knight in it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they have Sam and Misty, and then Steve and Sharon. I
Yeah,
like that.
I forgot to mention Misty, but yeah, Misty, who I was a little disappointed in the Symbol of Truth series. Like she's in it in the beginning, but I would have loved to see more of her like on the
Yeah,
adventure.
more.
Yeah, so I'm glad that in Cold War it seems like she's joining the fray a little bit more.
Yeah. I really like how they brought her into the first
Mhm.
issue. Um, I'm not sure what I'm hoping for, to be honest, in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah.
Uh, I just want a good Cap event. I'm really hoping they get into Bucky's head and
Hmm.
bring him back. Like I don't want him going full supervillain,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I want to see him take down the Outer Circle.
Hmm.
I'm hoping they have a real good plan for it.
Yeah. I think they do. And like we talked about, I really feel like it's going to be one of those books where when everything is revealed, we're going to have to go back to issues and be like, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everything right now is just very much like things are just happening, and it's like we don't really
Yeah,
understand the full scope of what is happening yet. But once
yeah,
this
we don't know
is
what we're processing yet.
exactly, but once it's all over, I think we're going to all go back on these issues and be like, damn, that's why Bucky did that, or that's why Peggy did, XYZ. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Oh, that's how Ian came back.
Yeah, exactly. That's how Ian came back. That's how Peggy came, like that's how Peggy became a star point. All these things that we kind of just talked about. I really think that they're gonna pull it off and wrap everything up pretty satisfyingly. One thing I do hope for the Cold War, uncovering more of this mystery and getting more answers of how this century game works, and how, like we were just talking about, all these questions about the star points and how have they been controlling all these people's lives in order to play this game. And it seems like, I don't know. We do know that the Sentinel of Liberty is coming to an end in August, right?
Yeah,
So
August. Yeah,
unfortunately, it is closing in, but I'm not sure about Sam's symbol of truth. I'm not sure if that is going to continue after Cold War. But to me, it seems like Sam's story and symbol of truth was wrapped up pretty nicely. Like at the what is it, issue 11 of symbol of truth,
yeah,
the kind of main story that was being told wraps up very nicely. And it seems like with Cold War, it seems like Sam is now coming into the fray of what's been going on in Sentinel of Liberty, like all the stuff that we've been discussing with Bucky and the Outer Circle. So I feel like Cold War is kind of the bookend of both of these titles. It feels like.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it feels like the event to wrap up two titles, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it feels like it's just like a halfway point, I guess. Because
Hmm.
like I feel like there's more to come after it. Like I don't obviously obviously we're going to get more runs from these characters, but I feel like from these writers and these specific like themes that the writers are taking the characters, I feel like this is just a halfway point.
Hmm.
Like it might be the end of these arcs, but it might not be the end of the overall story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I really hope that that's the case, because I mean we've been praising these guys' song this whole episode, but yeah, I think that there's a lot more. Even when this kind of arc is over with the Outer Circle and the Century game, I mean, so what's going to be the fallout of that? Like, what happens after
Yeah.
that? What happens after the Outer Circle is so like, what does that mean? Again, like these are all questions that have yet to be answered. Like, what does the Outer Circle really mean? Like, so what happens when they're gone? If they've been here since what was it, 1922, influencing the
Yeah.
world events, what happens to the world when they're no longer there? I think those are all kind of questions that you know like, not that we need answers for, but that's something that would be super interesting to explore. And I think the story doesn't end just there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like they're the only writers that can put an
Mhm.
actual end and answer those questions because it's all right. Say, for example, me and you were to go on after them and make up our own like answers for these kind of questions. That's all right, but like this, it's not the answers that everyone wants. We want to
Mhm.
hear it from the writers. Like, why did you have this train of thought? What was your reason for it?
Mhm.
We want their version of this.
Yeah,
So we want
exactly.
their answers for it. Guess you could call it one of the five stages of grief. I'm stage of denial.
I say we're in denial right now. We just don't want it
Yeah,
to
they're
be
not
over.
leaving.
Yeah, if they can't leave. Reminds me and makes me think of something. We love a good conspiracy here on the Sons of Mjolnir.
Damn
We're
right.
we're known we're known for going, swinging for the fences. Me and Gorgon are especially the tinfoil hat ones of this group,
The
but
tinfoil hatters.
exactly. But do you have any do you got any crazy predictions, crazy theories of what we could see in Cold War, maybe relating to, like we were talking about, where Peggy, or how they made Peggy a star point, where Ian's been. I got one that's pretty good, but I'm gonna wait. I want to see if you got anything in that tinfoil hat brain of yours.
I do. It's not a major like tinfoil hat theory, but I feel like somehow Bucky's behind Ian coming back.
Hmm.
Like I feel like that's Bucky. So obviously Bucky's trying to do a lot to keep Steve off his tail, to keep him at an arm's length or whatever. I feel like him bringing Ian back is a way to like distract him not realizing how much it actually could do to further push Steve to get Bucky back.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's the one behind Ian coming back. Obviously, we see him, and I think it's issue 2, the end of issue 1, issue 2, or the end of issue 2, issue 3. We see Bucky and Peggy meeting in Madripoor
Mm-hmm.
and them discussing the star points. So I feel like they both know, and the both of them have planned for Ian to come back.
Okay.
I'm more so leaning on Bucky bringing Ian back than I am Peggy, but
Mm-hmm.
it's two people never hurt.
I say 2 points of the star, man.
Yep.
So
But let
I
me hear
love
this
that
theory of
though.
yours.
Oh, well, first of all, before we get into mine, I just want to say I love that theory, and I hope that that turns out to be true, because I think that that would be an not easy way, but a good way to hit all of these mysteries like all at once. You know what I mean? Like you just said,
Yeah,
if Bucky was kind of orchestrating Ian's return with Peggy, like we could get, like I said, those three kind of mysteries of Ian, Peggy, and Bucky, like those can all be kind of tied up with one really good kind of swing, you know?
yeah, yeah.
But so mine is, and this is just crazy. I just thought of it when we were talking about all this stuff. But what if what if Sam Wilson is a star point? What if he's one of the
Oh,
points of the star, and he obviously he doesn't know that, but since his beginning as Falcon and then his takeover as Captain America, what if he's been part of this whole outer circle game this entire time, and again just had no idea that he was.
that's that's a very good. That I like that.
You like
That's
that?
that's very good.
Because I mean, this is my thought process is like we said, we've learned through both runs that like the outer circle kind of has controlled everything, and not even just like, major world events, but particularly with Captain America. I mean, he carries, what do they call him, like their weapon or whatever,
Yeah,
something like that. Like they see him as like their agent, and like that's why he wears the symbol. So it would make sense or kind of be weird to me that they would just allow someone else to carry that symbol as well. And if someone else is carrying that symbol, it's because they're allowing it and they're pulling the strings to make that happen. You get what I mean? So again,
yeah,
maybe Sam has always been like a star point, or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, I don't want to say that as like I'm throwing Sam under the bus, like he's been complicit in all this. Like he has no idea that this is going on. He's an unbeknowing puppet of this bigger game that has, like you said, been going on for centuries. But I think that would be freaking cool, and I think that would be a really good twist of everything going on.
yeah. I really like that because like it gives them more depth in Steve's history as well. Like it
Mm-hmm.
brings them two closer together.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. And you bring up a good point as well. Like if the outer circle are like making all these star points, i.e., Captain America, Bucky, all these major points, it wouldn't be hard to take someone out that you don't want to carry the shield.
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously allowed Sam to carry the shield.
That's what I
No, I
mean.
like that.
Yeah, like obviously we're learning as this goes on, like nothing happens by accident with the outer circle. Like every move leads to another move, and the outcome of that move influences, the other player's move. So what if Sam becoming Cap, I'd like not to take anything away from Sam becoming Cap, like I don't want to make it sound like, oh yeah, the only reason he's Cap is because this cabal has been pulling strings. Like he deserves to be Cap, and has more than proven he deserves that title. Like I said, all I'm saying
Yeah,
is maybe he's like these people have been pulling strings unbeknownst to everybody, and that was part of their century game, was introducing another Captain America and having Sam Wilson be a player in this.
yeah, but at the same time, even if that was the case, it still doesn't take anything away from Sam, because
Mm-hmm.
like obviously they influence stuff and they make moves and stuff here and there, but they're still not making Steve's mind up for him, and essentially Sam was picked for a reason in
Mhm.
everyone's eyes, regardless of if people were pulling the strings or not.
Yeah,
I feel like it still
absolutely.
doesn't take away; it just gives it more depth.
Hmm.
Like he
I
was
think so
supposed
too.
to be Captain America.
Hmm.
You know, it gives it more weight.
Yeah, I think so too. I just mean I just want to cover my bases because you know how people get, and especially with the whole mantle and oh, what do you mean there's two caps? Like stuff like that, you know.
Yeah,
So I just want to cover my bases and say, you know, whether or not they're pulling the strings, like Sam has always deserved to be Cap, and he's so good at Captain America, not only just in the MCU, but like we were just talking about in this run. Like I just really love how they're writing him in this run, and he's just like you were saying when he's talking to Doom, like he is Captain America. Like in my mind, I want to get every single person that talks shit about Sam Wilson Cap and like give them this run and be like, read this and tell me this man is not Captain America. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
just he exudes, for lack of a better term, he exudes that Cap energy, man. Like he's got it, man.
yeah. Like even in issue 0, whenever
Oh, I love that issue
Jackson,
so much.
Cohen,
Oh my
and
god.
Sochi were all joining forces, all three of
Hmm.
them. Like even the writing for Sam and that was incredible. And I'm trying to argue, like you could take that sole issue alone and give it to someone, and that'll it just cements how he is Captain America.
Yeah, like I said, I want to just put it in everyone's hand. But you mentioned issue 0, and I know we nerded out about this a while back ago, but oh my
Yeah,
God, I still can't get over how good that issue. I think still, which is going to sound super weird, it's my favorite issue of both runs still. Like that was just so good.
fair,
Like, I mean,
fair. Yeah,
it wasn't like like these both these runs are very story driven, you know what I mean. There's great action and all these awesome things, but it's very story driven. And to me, issue 0 was just like a fun adventure, you know what I mean, like
yeah,
with two caps, just action every page. The art was incredible. I mean, some of my favorite panels, I think, from the last like couple years come from that book. Like it's just I loved issue 0 so much. I can't express how good it was.
yeah. It sort of felt like a love letter to like early day Captain America runs as well, where it was all
Hmm.
just bang, crash, action,
Yeah,
you know.
and you get the two
But at the same
caps.
time, it had a really good story too.
Hmm. That's what I mean. It was the
So
perfect way to. I know it's obviously issue 0, and it kicked off both Sentinel and like that one issue spawned two amazing runs, and I think it was just the perfect issue to introduce us. I mean, obviously we all know Captain America and Sam Wilson Captain America, but it was just such a great issue to really kick off both series, and I think it really set the tone for what we've been seeing, which like we've talked about is phenomenal.
yeah, and Jesus man, the art in that issue too.
I know
Oh
that's
man,
why I said it's like some of
that
my
is
favorite
enough to make you
panels.
cry.
Yeah, some of my favorite panels that I've seen in any book, regardless of a cat book. But yeah, like, and the one that I love, I'm thinking of right now, is when they're floating in the water and they like fist bump. They're like, "Thanks,
Yeah,
Cap. All right, Cap. Oh, it's so good, so good."
I really like the one. What is it? Total Recall, the the Arnie film,
Mm-hmm.
like the reference to that where the two caps, grab fists.
Yep.
I really like that.
I love
Yeah,
that too. Yeah, from Predator.
a Predator. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Dylan.
Yep. That one.
Dylan! You son of a bitch.
Such a great. We need to do an episode on Predator because that's a fantastic
Oh,
movie.
100%.
I think we really kind of covered everything up until this point with Cold War and both Cap runs. That's really all we can talk about and theorize for right now. But I mean, we will be back to talk once this all wraps up. We got to come back and talk about this and see if some of our theories were right. And like I said, just discuss how they wrap this all up because I am super excited to see how all of this is going to come together. And I think it said August, right? Isn't that what they said is when it's
August.
coming to an
Yep.
end? August. So we got about another month of all the Cap goodies from the Hive Mind. But other than that, Cap, is there anything else you'd like to say about this run, Sam's run, or just Cap in general?
I don't think so. I think I've said as much as we can without spoiling too much.
Yeah, like I said, don't want to spoil too much. The one thing I will say is go read it. Go out there,
Yeah,
stop
absolutely.
listening to us yahoos talk about it. Go read it for yourself. See how, like, we're praising how good it is. Go see how good it is for yourself. Go out to your local comic shop. I'm sure that they have some trades available now, Cap. Am I wrong on that?
No, well, yes, you're right. No, you're not wrong. Yes, you're right. Um, so volume 1 is out so far, and volume 2 is due to drop. I think it's just after August, just
Okay.
after it wraps up.
Trade is out for you guys to go pick up. You guys can catch up. I think if you guys have Marvel Unlimited, I think on Sentinel they go all the way up to like issue 10, I think, and then same thing for Symbol of Truth, issue 10. So if you have Marvel Unlimited, you'll only be like 2 or 3 issues behind. That's you can easily catch up. But yeah, please go read it. It is super good. Thank you, Jackson and Kelly and Tochi, for bringing us this awesome Cap content that we can nerd out about. And, really, that's all we have for you guys.
Let us know what you think about it. You have to tweet us, you have to reply.
Yes,
Let us
please.
know all your thoughts and your theories too. If you have a crazy theory, shout us both out. Let us know.
Please, we love theories. Like Cap said, leave us a comment, hit us up on Twitter. We love talking about this stuff. I promise you, we will reply and we can nerd out all about it. But other than that, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a subscribe. It really helps us out. And like Cap said, hit us with all your Captain America theories, crazy thoughts, and tell us what you think about this run, because we love talking about it. But other than that, we're going to have to get out of here for this time. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope all your stacks are fat. Stay hydrated out there, and we will see you all next time.
Bye, guys. It's been wonderful.
I can do this all day.